Hey, City Center Baptist Church family, it's Pastor Brad coming to you from DDQ headquarters. Digging Deeper question number 2 this week asks, Gabriel addressed Mary as O favored one and told her she had found favor with God. From these terms and from the context, does this mean she was able to bestow grace, or was she simply a recipient of God's grace? And why does this matter? Gabriel's greeting and commendation of Mary in Luke 1:28 and 30 have been used historically by some church traditions to argue she was special from all other people. Her role as an intermediary between people and God has had worldwide appeal, and she has been referred to as the Mother of God. There is something endearing in this attractive portrayal of a mother caring for her beloved children. Even translations have promoted this notion that Mary was in a different category than the rest of us. The Latin Vulgate, which was the church's main translation for 1,000 years, rendered Gabriel's greeting as Ave Maria, meaning Hail Mary. This helped foster the practice of addressing prayers to Mary as one who could bestow grace on the faithful. But is this an accurate understanding of the biblical text? The term used for favored one is only found in one other New Testament passage, Ephesians 1 verse 6, which bless God as the one who had actively favored believers in Christ Jesus. In Luke 1:28, the verb form is passive, meaning Mary received grace from another, namely God. And the verb form is in a tense that speaks of something that happened in the past that had ongoing results. Therefore, Gabriel's greeting is clear. Mary was a recipient of God's grace, not a bestower of God's grace. She was not able to extend or pass on grace to others. She, in fact, needed God's grace. Luke 1:30 is just as illuminating. Gabriel told Mary that she had found favor, literally grace, with God. This expression is a common Hebrew phrase that meant God has chosen to act on your behalf, and is found several times in the Old Testament, and is used, for example, of Noah, Moses, and King David. The very term grace is defined as God's unmerited favor, kindness, and helpfulness. So it is not referring to Mary's authority to dispense grace, but to one who had received and experienced God's grace in her life. This is a significant clarification, because many people today and throughout church history have appealed to Mary for help in their times of distress. Mary has become the object of veneration, while prayers and worship are offered up to her. I firmly believe Mary would be appalled at such adoration. She would say she was a sinner, like everyone else, and was solely chosen to be Jesus' earthly mother by God's grace, and not due to her own merit. Mary was, in a sense, the very first believer in Messiah identified in the New Testament. She believed that what God had promised her would come true. She was willing to be obedient to the Lord's assignment, and thus she was a model for all faithful believers. So let's imitate her faith and obedience by keeping our focus, attention, worship, prayers, and hope on Jesus alone, for he alone is grace personified. This has been Pastor Brad coming to you from DDQ headquarters.